Lindsey Graham coming out yesterday and posting that he's concerned about the difference in opinion between what we say is in the deal and what the Iranians are saying, and then shifting the blame onto J.D. Vance, which is quite strategic, where he said, this will be a huge feather in J.D. Vance's cap. If it's him, means I want to give Donald Trump a break if this is bad, right? If this is worse than the JCPOA, I can't go after dear leader about this, so I'm going to put it on J.D. Vance. Not releasing any of the text is a choice since they have digitally signed it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So glad you pulled up a seat for this one. Today we are dropping into a Fox News panel that thinks a brand new Iran agreement just solved a 47-year standoff, and the whole table is practically throwing confetti. Jesse Watters swears he has been briefed and that it is all simple. Emily Compagno is already celebrating, and then Jessica Tarlov walks in and starts pulling at every loose thread. From a senator quietly hedging his bets, to the small detail that nobody is allowed to actually read the deal. It gets tense, it gets sharp, and somebody at that table is reading the room very differently than the rest. Stick around all the way through, because the strongest moment is buried in the back half, and you do not want to miss who lands it. Also, I am always curious who is tuning in, so drop a comment and let me know what city or country you are watching from right now. I love seeing how far this reaches. All right, let us get into it.
How is it that the prior president says it's doubtful it's anything new? I mean, I keep picturing the different yellow new print commercials. Remember those? Of course it's different. And part of it that I've seen, in part because time has passed and because now they have agreed to no longer fund terror proxies, which to me was the greatest thing that the abomination of that prior deal fomented. We were paying for the deaths of Americans and our allies this entire time. And it reminded me of on Wednesday night when the Knicks were behind by 29 points and I went to bed because I didn't want to see the loss. And then I woke up in the morning and everything was awesome. All of this is because people don't want to root for America. They don't want to root for a win just because Donald Trump is the one at the helm. So we will learn a lot more, obviously, and especially when the internet gets turned back on in that country. Because right now, who we haven't heard from is all of those Iranian people that are likely, I would think, pretty excited about what the future has to hold. And to get there, there had to be a little bit of a give and take and a little bit of back and forth. So my faith is in our president and the negotiators of this deal. And I'm also a little bit more patient than people like Obama and Chris Murphy and Hakeem Jeffries, who seem to just want to spike the football the wrong direction immediately.
Yeah, Jesse, who let Hakeem say Iran is strong as ever?
He was listening to Jessica. Sorry, Jessica. I've been briefed on the deal, and it's pretty simple. You immediately upon signing, the Strait opens up, and there's no tolling, and there's no money exchanged. And you're going to get traffic probably restored within the next 2 to 3 weeks. What really made a difference were the airstrikes Monday and Tuesday, and Operation Freedom was covertly bringing oil out, so the Iranians lost all their leverage over the Strait. But the most significant part of the deal is that the Iranians have signed, in principle, to agree for the complete destruction and removal of the uranium. Right now, they can't get it. They have no access to it. It's buried a skyscraper's length deep underground. All 3 sites are inaccessible. And the United States is the only country with the technical expertise to be able to remove it. So we're going to remove it along with the IAEA, and we're going to destroy it, and we're going to bring it out of the country. And then and only then will there be sanctions relief. Also, they're not going to get any sanctions relief if they continue to fund terrorism. If Hezbollah attacks the Jews have a right to defend themselves, but they will not be getting any sanctions relief. So they have to keep Hezbollah on a leash. And we will maintain our military posture until they give up the dust. That is the deal. And all the details of the MOU are going to be released on Friday after the signing.
Okay, watch how fast the confidence comes pouring out here. Jesse Watters sits down and goes, "I've been briefed on the deal, and it's pretty simple." And right away my radar goes UP. Because anytime someone tells you a 47-year conflict just got solved and it is pretty simple, that is exactly the moment you should start asking questions. Here is what people don't realize. Jesse paints this beautiful picture. There's no tolling, there's no money exchanged, the Strait just opens up, everything is clean. And you have to understand something about Iran in all of this. This is a country that just got bombed, that got blockaded, that watched $1 trillion of its economy get torn apart. And now we are supposed to trust that the people who did the bombing are also the honest narrators of what the peace looks like? Come on. Then Jesse gets to the big one. He says the most significant part is that the Iranians have signed in principle to agree for the complete destruction and removal of the uranium. In principle. Sit with those 3 words. In principle is not the same as in writing. In principle is a handshake nobody filmed. And Emily Compagno jumps in saying now they have agreed to no longer fund terror proxies, like it is already done, already finished, already a fact. But not one of us has seen the text, not a single page. So what exactly are we celebrating here? The vibe? The press release? This is the part that gets me. A whole room doing a victory lap around a document the public is not even allowed to read yet.
And the bigger thing in terms of like a regional peace deal, all of these Gulf nations have agreed to invest $300 billion to rebuild the energy infrastructure of Iran because they've lost $1 trillion through the bombing and the blockade. And that's big because you're going to economically integrate the region. And when you have investments and Iran is investable, you're not going to bomb each other. And it's a lot different already, as you said, from the Iran deal. We have Gulf allies invested. We have no sunset clause. We have the complete elimination of the uranium, so there is no enrichment. All of their leaders have been killed. 80% of the military has been decimated. And you're not going to have bribes. You're going to have them perform, and then they can get paid. And if this is done, which is going to be negotiated up front within the first 30 days after the signing Friday, this could be the crowning achievement of the Trump administration. This has been the thorniest foreign policy problem of the last 50 years? And this is a 47-year war. And if he ends it, that is huge. And it shows that you can win wars through air and naval blockades. And that's a big threat to the Chinese.
You know, that it's a good point that you mentioned that it's been going on for 47 years, Jessica, because I think that's how you almost have to read Trump in a lot of these things, which is that he's a context president. Shows up, he looks around, he goes, that reflection pool is disgusting. It's been disgusting forever. I want to fix it. The border is hell. I want to fix it. Iran, and by the way, he has been talking about Iran for how many decades now? So it only seemed natural that he would do it his way in a different way and see what works. Is there anything that Jesse said that you would disagree with?
Listen, if what Jesse said is about to happen, praise be, right? That sounds absolutely fantastic. But Jesse has clearly been briefed more than like Lindsey Graham, for instance, who's pretty close to the president.
He's been debriefed.
Funny. Lindsey Graham coming out yesterday and posting that he's concerned about the difference in opinion between what we say is in the deal and what the Iranians are saying, and then shifting the blame onto J.D. Vance, which is quite strategic, where he said, this will be a huge feather in J.D. Vance's cap. If it's him, means I want to give Donald Trump a break if this is bad, right? If this is worse than the JCPOA, I can't go after dear leader about this, so I'm going to put it on J.D. Vance. Not releasing any of the text is a choice since they have digitally signed it. So not quite an auto pen, but the thing is done. So you should have put it out there for people, especially for your supporters, because he has had a lot of people on his side who are saying this had to happen for 47 years. They've been a huge threat.
And now the money. Jesse says all of these Gulf nations have agreed to invest $300 billion to rebuild the energy infrastructure of Iran. On the surface, that sounds almost humanitarian. But let me break down why it should make you pause. Iran did not lose $1 trillion in a storm. It lost it under bombs and a naval blockade. So now wealthy outside players swoop in to fund the rebuild of a country that was just flattened. And we call that generosity. From Iran's side, that is not a gift. That is recovery from damage that never should have been done to them. Then Jessica Tarlov walks in and does the thing nobody else at that table had the nerve to do. She says, if what Jesse said is about to happen, praise be, but Jesse has clearly been briefed more than Lindsey Graham, and that is such a sharp catch. A senator who is genuinely close to the administration is openly nervous, while a TV host claims to know every detail. Something does not line up. And here is the part that is honestly a little dark. Jessica points out that Lindsey Graham is already shifting the blame onto J.D. Vance, which she calls quite strategic. Think about what that means. The ink is not even dry, and the allies of this administration are quietly building an escape hatch. If it works, the top of the ticket takes the bow. If it collapses, J.D. Vance eats it. That is not how confident people behave about a deal they actually believe in. And then Jessica drops the cleanest line of the entire panel. She says not releasing any of the text is a choice, since they have digitally signed it. A choice. The thing is signed. It exists. They are simply choosing to hide it from the very supporters who waited decades for this.
And I think that it is also meaningful that just a couple hours ago, Netanyahu was giving a press conference where he said, I haven't been able to see it. So the country that we went into the war with hasn't seen it, but they've allowed the Iranians to sign onto it. And he said that we're not complying. We're going to do what we need to do, which means that they could blow up the deal because from our perspective and the Iranian perspective, they want Israel to stop hitting Lebanon. Again, if what Jesse says is going to happen, happens, fantastic news. But from what it looks like, that this is just an MOU that gives them up to 60 days to deal with the tough stuff. It doesn't look like that's what is going to happen. So the tough stuff on on nuclear and also on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz without the tolling, if you watch J.D. Vance this morning on both CBS and CNBC, that isn't ironclad, that there won't be tolls when it reopens. Okay. The deal is similar to the JCPOA, seemingly, but not in this important aspect, which is we had other countries that signed on to the JCPOA. So this is a one-way or a two-way agreement between the U.S. and Iran. JCPOA, you say how great that the Gulf states are involved in this. JCPOA was all of Europe, the Chinese, and the Russians were signed on to it. Right now, we don't have any friends going into this deal together.
Of course they would sign on to it.
What?
Of course they would sign on to it because it wasn't America first.
Okay. And the money question really matters.
We got to go.
So I've spoken less than everybody else. Let me finish.
Compared to who?
Everybody else on the panel except maybe
combined?
Dana.
You mean combined? That's a little weird. We all have our little time frames. I haven't talked as much as you. I'm just sitting here looking great.
When I ask you about robot dogs or whatever, I only say like 4 words in the D block. Just quickly on the money front.
All right.
Arguably, they have already gotten, first of all, the sanctions relief, but also the U.S. brokered a financial deal between the Qataris and the Iranians, meaning they already got money transferred. And you're talking about huge sums, $24 billion, $300 billion investment fund that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff want really bad so they can continue building luxury resorts or whatever they're going to go do with it. The Obama deal was only $1.7 billion in unfrozen assets of their money, and they could only get to 3.7% enriched uranium.
And this right here is where the whole celebration should collapse. Jessica reveals that just hours earlier, the Israeli Prime Minister stood at a press conference and admitted he had not been able to see it. Let that land. The country we went to war alongside has not read the agreement, but Iran has already been allowed to sign it. And that same leader said his side is not complying and will do whatever it wants. So the deal everyone is toasting can be detonated by a partner who never even opened it. Now here is the context people keep skipping, and it matters. Jessica says we don't have any friends going into this deal together. Compare that to the older agreement she keeps pointing back to. That earlier deal, back in 2015, was not some lonely two-country handshake. It was signed by the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, China, and the European Union, all of them locked in together. That is documented history. So when this new version is just the US and Iran with no allied signatures behind it, that is not an upgrade. That is a downgrade wearing a victory costume. And then the money. You have to understand this. Jessica explains the U.S. already brokered a financial deal between the Qataris and the Iranians, meaning the cash already moved. It is flowing now, before any uranium is touched, before any verification, and her comparison is brutal. She says the older deal was only $1.7 billion in unfrozen assets, and Iran could only reach 3.7% enriched uranium under it. Tiny money, tightly capped enrichment. This new one? Hundreds of billions in motion, and a tower of promises made in principle. So ask yourself who actually walked away protected. Not the public, who can't read it. Not the ally, who never saw it. The ones being taken care of are the deal makers and the money. And from Iran's perspective, after being bombed and blockaded, Getting their economy refunded and their leverage back might be the strongest hand they have held in years. Jessica saw every bit of it clearly, while everyone around her was spiking the football in the wrong direction. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.